Hi, Esther. I wanted to speak to you today about this concept and modern day paradigm of the inner child, which everyone speaks about. And I feel you have a very potent, unique perspective on the inner child to offer. And I was wondering if you could elucidate a little bit, because I think when most people think of inner child, they do think of, as you wrote in your post today, imagining a difficult situation when they were a child and seeing how they were treated badly, and then some kind of visualization of, feeling love for that inner child. And then that's the extent of it. And I personally don't feel that that goes deep enough. I don't find it radical enough.
Yeah, yeah. Mm. Is there anything else you want to say to me about that? That could,
Well, what's also really fascinating to me is that the place that I notice the inner child come up the most is around the partner. So either with the partner, it's the child that comes out or the parent. It's like we're just alternating. And rarely is it the lover. Like the lover role feels unprecedented on this planet.
yeah. Well, the divine union template is the lingam and the yoni connected, making deep contact and in pure sensation with that. Within that is a real innocence. So that's the inner child before it's crushed by programming, which comes from usually the parent or the parent acting like a child when so then it even swaps with the child and the parent. So the parent becomes the child. This is, let's call it quote unquote trauma when a part and the child becomes the parent because all of a sudden they're being rejected or judged or heavily criticized. Their child, their innocent child is being well, we use the word brutalized because on some level it is. There's such an innocence, and this part is attempting to modify it, to make it different. And as that childlike part absorbs an energetic frequency that is not of source, it kind of starts to shape itself in a really weird, mangulated, position and pattern that no longer allows it to stream through, to like flow through. I think this is why everybody's so into the circulation, and then you can be free, you know. But it's interesting, even I'm going to go into that. If the lingam and the yoni, like notice how everyone's using it for circulation, but no one goes into the lingam and the yoni. They assume they're already circulating or something, like it will just circulate the whole thing.
Mm.
So Yeah. So the what I notice is the lingam and the yoni, they provide a platform for connection and imbue a person with so much wholeness in them that they can now manage to visit these really distorted spaces in their body that hurt. And this is where people go, oh, is it fear? Is it anger? You don't actually know. It's a crunched up bit of energy that's off shooting sensations. So even as I'm speaking, my solar plexus is crunching. And, you know, is that fear? Is that, I actually don't know how we got to emotional meaning from pure sensation. There's such an inconsistency there with
And what's
actually being
interesting is
embodied.
two people can have the same exact crunching, and then one calls it fear and one calls it anger, you know? And then they talk to each other and make it more complicated.
Yeah. But they also think they know what the other's thinking and feeling. Oh, you've got a crunched solar plexus. That must mean you're angry. Oh God, my mum or dad got angry. You know, like, yeah, but it's not that. And the thing about stillpoint lovemaking, if you want to ask, you can actually you can be with the lingam and the yoni and move through the sensation by staying really intimately close with your lover versus if you're energetic beings. You can't do stillpoint lovemaking etherically unless you're an energetic being. So I'm really only like inviting people who have got some real attunement energetically. They're tantric, they're mantak chia, as Tupac says. You know, they've done mantak chia. They've learned that we are six sensory beings. You know, like we've and the energetics is very real and tangible. Um, so yeah, and you can feel so close to your lover. And instead of you going, is it anger? Is it fear? You're actually with them in the crunching
Mm.
with the yoni and the lingam. Because you can both feel where the yoni and the lingam is touching and describe sensations there. And it will take care of other dead zones of parts that got amputated from source energy in those moments. Yeah.
And I find it actually really interesting because since most people focus on inner child, they just um, proliferate or kind of chew on the imagined mental memories from their childhood. However, if you want to know how deep the inner child really goes, it goes back to the dawn of time when there was initial crunching or distortion in the body, and that gets inherited generation after generation after generation. And you don't remember that. It's not in you. And so if you want to work as deep as possible, you have to go to the bodily distortion of the energy. Because inner child, in essence, means the state of purity. It doesn't mean literally when you were a child. That's a very materialistic way of looking at it. It's the pure sense of the energy.
Exactly. It's the template we originated with, the most clearest. like, I mean, I've gone quiet because I can almost hear a tone, you know, in my body with it. It's a frequency. And but that's what you touch with the lingam and the yoni again. Because really look at how were we created? Through masculine and feminine principles. They existed before time. They were the first existent principles. And so the yoni and the lingam are carrying that imprint. They know also what corrupted them. They know that. They've got the intelligence. They know where it got corrupted. They know how it started, how it was corrupted, and how to unravel it, how to purify and alchemize and cleanse it.
It's interesting how in our culture we have so many echoes of, like, the mind creates so many echoes of that original intelligence
Yeah.
that are far away, and then it toys with that, like the concept of the inner child. And the way to go to the most quantum, I'll use that word. It's a very new age
Yeah.
word, but the
It's
most,
kind of true too, but yeah, for this language.
yeah, the most
Yeah.
quantum place is in those organs, the primordial organs of love, of pure love.
Yeah, that's I was going to use the word primordial, just back it came to me. Um, yeah, and it's been so convoluted, like symbology of true, deep, somatic, returning back to original innocence. And now we've got a watered down story of that's been passed down generationally, almost like probably in the fairy tales.
Mm,
The fairy tales are all about that.
mm,
But you see, it's always related to the 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 sensation, because if you energy exists without the body, and that's what I'm meaning. So it came first, and so, and it's interesting, everybody was non-verbal. So everybody has a connection to sensation, and some people have severed it so badly, or their lineage has. Um, that the remembering is very amputated, very, yeah, very deadened, very exiled.